DivaSpeaks Podcast is the premier relationship podcast that explicitly deals with relationship matters from a woman's point of view. No subject is off limits. Relationship challenges, sex, intimacy, dating, infidelity, finances, heartbreak, and situationships are all a part of the discussion. Your relationship matters.
Welcome to DivaSpeaks Relationships. I am your hostess, Angela Puerto Real. DivaSpeaks Relationships is a show that centers around all relationship issues, matters, and challenges, but it is from a woman's perspective. Now and again, we'll allow the men to chime in, but ultimately around here, it's the woman that gets the final say. In today's discussion, we will be talking about illicit affairs, sex scandals, and pimps in the pulpit. I want to go ahead and introduce my guests, so let's get started.
Here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I've been pastor for 15 years.
Welcome to the show.
I'm Kevin Coleman, co-host of the Midday Madness show. Been in Charlotte, born and raised, so let's talk about it.
Welcome to the show.
Thank
you. Woody Calloway, born and raised right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Another co-host of the Midday Madness show. Just ready to get it in. Let's go.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And last but definitely not least.
Hi everybody, I'm Jasmine. Born and bred in Dallas, Texas, but have spent the last 10 years here in North Carolina and just recently moved to Utah. The millennial.
I want to thank each of you for gathering today so we could talk about a subject that I feel is very controversial, but a conversation that definitely needs to be had. So let me go ahead and throw this out there right now. So for those of you that are not familiar with the lineup on this show, this is a predominantly ministry-based station from what I've gathered and me just reviewing some of the shows. And I thought, what would be more entertaining and befitting than to talk about some of the church antics that we all have been privy to, that we see in the media. So I want to talk about it today and how the antics of the church have discouraged a majority of the millennials and discouraged a good deal of some of the older parishioners who are just not here for the foolishness. So can we agree that we may disagree today, but we're definitely going to stand firm, stand our ground, and bring our opinions to the table? And just so you know, guys, I brought the pastor in because he's not only a dear friend, but he's a trusted friend, and he is one of the pastors that is without stain or blemishes on his record. So, so I didn't bring anybody to the set that would actually feed the fire. So guys, let me talk about specifically what I had in mind when I wanted to do the show. The latest controversy with Pastor John Gray. You're saying, who is Pastor John Gray? I see the millennial over there. Pastor John Gray is this African-American preacher who got his start, was it under? Joel Osteen. I mean, I kind of like Joel Osteen and the messages that he brings to the table. And when I tell you that this man is anointed as far as speaking, he can engage you. He can give you something so simple and make you feel it on levels that you didn't even know were there. I remember watching him on the Sister Circle, and that was the first time I heard it, and he was talking about how a woman is a multiplier. If you give her this, you give her groceries, she'll make you a meal. You purchase her a house, she'll give you a home, and so on and so forth, right?
That's why I love her.
Yeah, I do. I mean, prophetically, he can speak the word. However, his personal life seems to be one that is questionable. And I think that a lot of people have problems separating the gift from this man that is imperfect. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the different examples. I have John Gray. We're going to talk about Pastor Wilson. For those of you that don't remember Pastor Wilson, he was the African-American preacher who was involved in an illicit affair with one of his choir members. He was married too, older gentleman. And the side chick actually captured him on camera performing fellatio on her. See, I keep it classy. She captured him performing fellatio on her and then released it to the masses.
Oh.
So,
Scandalous.
so we're going to stop right there with those first two examples. And I want to allow my panel, whoever feels the courage, to speak up first. And what are your views and opinions on what I have, the examples I've given you?
Pastor, we gonna let you go first.
Okay. I hear crickets when I should hear conversation.
We'll see what you got to say.
As it pertains to pastors out of control in pulpits, we have reached a point in the Christendom where pastors go unchecked. Many of them get bigger than the church, bigger than the organization that they're in, and you can't touch them, you can't smack them on the hand. And so when they get to that size and they're bringing in a large amount of revenue, it's hard to, pop them on the hand. And that don't excuse their behavior, what they're doing. Myself, my pastor would not allow me. He wouldn't even ordain me until I had found a wife and settled down, because he was aware of all of the pitfalls that came. And so he looked out for me on that end. But as far as what some of these guys are doing, and it's just no excuse for it.
I totally agree.
Yeah, no excuse for it. And it needs to be checked. Unlike businesses and other organizations, you have that's governed by the state. State can come in and shut them down. It's not like that with the church.
There's no checks and balances systems in the church, is
No.
what you're saying. So do you think that, because you made a great point that when certain pastors get to a certain level, there's money involved, there's a certain amount of members, if you started humble beginnings with perhaps 100 members and you've grown now to over 10,000. Right. I mean, that could sort of be a situation where you're ego tripping, you got the money. Do you think all of that contributes to a desire or a character defect that was already there, is just enhanced?
Oh, yes, certainly. The money just amplifies what's already there.
That's my point.
Yeah,
That's my point.
If the character is flawed, if you're a small fool when you're broke, then when you get money, you just be a bigger fool.
All right.
You got more money to display the madness. And all of that should be filtered out before you get to the pastorate, before you actually step in the pulpit and take on that title, if you got the right checks and balances in place.
But like you said, who's going to check the pastor? Especially if you get to a certain level, right? And, there's popularity involved. Perhaps, of course, there's a lot of money involved, prestige. Everybody wants to be on the winning team.
Right.
So is it possible that people would tend to overlook or turn a blind eye because they're benefiting from the lifestyle and the popularity of the pastor? Well, that's just pastor. We're not gonna say nothing about this. It'll work itself out.
Right. And then the way it's been preached up, a lot of people are afraid to speak out on pastors.
That's true.
Because they're afraid that God gonna get them.
And I wanna address that. That's true. And even I wanted to say this when I was starting the show, that this is not a show that I designed or I wanted to appear as if I'm tearing down pastors. That's not my place. I'm not here to judge any pastor or any man for their downfall just because I sin differently than the next man. But I do want to address some of the imperfections that have been put on a public platform. So, I just thank you for saying that. But I want to turn my attention to the millennial. And in case you guys didn't know, Miss Jasmine over there is my firstborn. So she's been raised in a household the majority of her life. We were under the ministry of Bishop T.D. Jakes out of Dallas, Texas. And that's pretty much all she's ever known. Now, my former life, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And, I kind of abandoned that faith and took a different path. But as a millennial, and pretty much I tried to raise you in the church, what are your views now as a young woman on your own, with your own relationship with God, and you have your own responsibilities that you are responsible for in the kingdom of God? How do you feel when you hear situations like this come up within the kingdom?
I hate to say that like millennials are not feeling the church, because I don't think it's just so much the church. It's like we look more at the people. So a lot of pastors, bishops, preachers, it's, what are you talking about? Because I can go to Instagram and hear a motivational speech. Like I can do that anywhere, but it's just like, are you really teaching me the gospel? Are you really teaching me how to follow Jesus's path? Like what are you really putting into me? Because a lot of what I've seen, in, although mostly raised Christian, when I was living with my dad, that, LDS Mormon side, they have a completely different way of having church. And so,
okay, explain to the audience what you just said, because you kind of like ran together.
Oh, yeah. In the LDS church, everything is really kind of like quiet, slow paced. There's no like praise and worship. When we tithe, we don't tithe like amongst each other. It's kind of like a drop box, and they show up to your house. So there's nothing that the pastor has to do to like get you stirred emotionally to give. But nowadays, I think from everything that I've experienced in the church, and everything that I've just kind of seen going on worldly wise, I try to remember that everyone is human and that everyone has downfalls, but I have an expectation from a pastor, a bishop, a preacher, that you are doing your best to ensure that you are following, you're following the rules. I hate to say the phrase, but monkey see, monkey do. So if you're a man of God or a woman of God at what could be seen as the highest level in the church, and you're getting away with murder behind the scenes, it's just like, okay. And a millennial, and I'm living in a capitalist hold, but you got the cars, the clothes, the vacations, you got everything.
Access to celebrities.
To celebrities, and it's just like, okay, I feel like I'm doing everything in my power to do what's right. Especially, the battle that a lot of millennials, and I'm not even just millennials, but a lot of people just generally face, but more so my generation, because we aren't as deep in the church and don't have the same restraints, like when it comes to like premarital sex. That is like something that's just like, it's a hot topic from honestly the beginning of time till now. But it's just like, if I'm trying everything and I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do, and I don't see the reward. And I know that sounds materialistic, but if I don't see the benefit, if I haven't seen the benefit of the church for my parents, if I haven't seen the church do anything for my cousins, it's like, okay, what's really going on here?
So are you saying that from your perspective that the pastor and his crew are the only ones that seem to benefit from church culture or the kingdom today, based on, you're being asked to tithe, you're being asked to stay faithful, you're being asked to pray and fast. You do all of this. However, he's the only one that benefits. He's the only one that get the big houses and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
But that does seem a little bit materialistic, because you know what I'm saying? Because your blessing could be that you got to keep your mom for another day. I didn't get killed on the way home. Or my blessing could be I didn't have to bury neither one of my children. So blessings come in many forms, but your point is very well received. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. One of my radio personalities, my very, very outspoken radio personalities, I would love to hear your feedback on.
So I got two things. One thing is about like what the pastor was saying. Like So do you think that when the pastors get to such a level that they forget about what they're doing or their purpose and they just focusing on the money, so that's where they get out of place, or is it that's just their character flaw?
Kind of both. Because once you get the machine rolling,
Yeah.
you have to pretty much play the game if that's where your motive is, to keep it rolling. And you make mistakes along the way, and then they'll, well, I'm the pastor, we'll
I'll get away with it.
but we got to get the show going, got to keep the show going.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of both.
Yeah. I totally agree. Like I said, for me, it just seems like you said, if that's what they were going to do, they were going to do it regardless.
I totally agree with you on that.
Once they get all the money, that's just who they were. That's who they were going to be anyway. So, but for me, it's just about the pastor just needs to check themselves, because if nobody's going to check them, they need to have a certain level of integrity, that they need to adhere to, even when they get on that level. Like, they got to hold themselves accountable. And a lot of people, even outside the church, that's one thing we don't like to do, is hold ourselves accountable, and check ourselves. Like, we let our egos get ahead of ourselves, we like to be bigger than our egos, or try to live up to that, and that gets in the way. And that's where all the mistakes happen.
Okay.
And
Would you like to respond to that?
yes, I look at pastors as like celebrities. Some pastors as celebrities, like they're rich and famous. Like, they got some members living at the Salvation Army, but they got the big old house on the hill. They got the diamond, some of them wear rings on every finger. They got the medallions. They got the Cadillac with the gold trim. It's like they brag on all they have, and it's like they praise they flock. They flock that. Some of them, not all of them, pastors, but it's like the ones
like
that
they the dope boys.
Yeah, the one, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they undercover drug dealers. Like they sell the word and they bring the money back to them, and they finance in their lifestyle. And it's like, once you get to that level of celebrity, you can't be held accountable. So they feel like they can't be touched. And for the lucky lady in the pulpit, she was like a group. I mean, the choir, she was like a
You
group.
said the lucky lady.
Yeah, because she was like, everybody wants to have an experience with a celebrity. So
True.
she got her chance and she took it, and she got her 15 minutes of fame.
But
And-
what she really wanted was the solo in the choir. So she really didn't get what she wanted.
Well, she's very solo now.
Good point.
She's yeah. So she got what she
Yeah.
she got her status, and she's known, but for the wrong thing now.
That's
Because
true.
she exposed him, which was the right thing to do, but now you got the scarlet letter on your shirt.
You know what? That brings me to another point. We're talking about accountability, and when there's no accountability on the pastors or bishops or leaders of the church, then they tend to do what they want to do. But have you ever thought about, guys, that no matter what some of those leaders or of those churches do, the flock is still remaining there. So it's no incentive to change.
Everybody needs something to believe
It's
in.
no incentive to change, because you have devout parishioners who are going to stay regardless, and their excuse is nobody's perfect, he's still a man of God.
But a lot of those people are older people that's been with the church, or their family's been with the church.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them stay because of that, not necessarily because, like, they know Pastor Leventhal, but it's like, well, my family been going to this church for 40 years.
And
So what else I'm gonna do?
And
That's a good
and they
point.
have sown and did drives to raise money to support the church, and so they have a vested interest there. But it's in my opinion, it's kind of mutual.
Okay.
So it's not just all the pastor's fault, because you have a
was
will
getting there.
also. You can make choices too, whether or not you want to stay there.
Right.
And when you see the foul living and you see the extorting money and doing things like that, we're free moral agents. You got a right to step. You got a right to step. And it also speaks to where your heart is. Why you're there. If you're there for the right reason and then you see something going on wrong, you're gonna leave. But if your motive is similar to the pastor's motive, then you're gonna hang around for the fishes and the loaves.
I like that part.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people stay because they've seen the good side of them. So just like a celebrity, like you see celebrities do all this stuff, but in your mind they can do no wrong. They've seen the pastor marry people. They've seen the pastor have fish fries. They seen the pastor Christian babies, baptize people, baptize kids, baptize people, have people talking in tongues, save people, when people come up there and dedicate their life. They've seen the pastor do all this, so in their mind, well, we all fall short. It's in the Bible. So that's what they think, just like celebrities. Like, it's celebrities out here, they got fans that the celebrities can do no wrong in their mind.
Like our current president.
Yeah, he got fanboys.
I mean, he has a fan base.
Exactly.
You know, I'm not turning it political. I'm just saying the fans that he has, those supporters are relentless in their support of him. He can do no wrong. They don't care what he does.
Exactly.
They don't care what evidence you show them. They don't care. They are going to just...
They turn their heads.
Right, they turn their head. You know what, guys, I was thinking, so I would say maybe it was last year. There was this couple that visited my home. It was late at night, and this couple was having problems. So they came to my home to somewhat make amends to myself and my husband for an offense they were guilty of. So as the conversation progressed, I'm going somewhere with this, just buckle down.
Oh, this is a show. Take your time.
As the conversation progressed, the husband was resentful of the wife because one of his days off happened to be on a Sunday. He worked 6 days a week, if I'm remembering the story correctly. So on Sundays, she would automatically get up and go to church and basically spend all day there. If I'm remembering the story correctly, not only one service, but a few services, because she felt that her place was at the church. She felt that, you know what, if you want to spend some time with me, you need to get up and go to church. He took a different position, which got me to thinking, because he made a little nasty jab at her, but it was valid. He was like, you care more about that pastor and that church than you do me. And I remember telling this woman that your first ministry is to your home and your husband. You're running up there in that church and letting your marriage and your household fall apart is not praising God. There's no balance in your life. And I actually did see where he was coming from to a certain extent, because why can't you fellowship with your husband in bed or Bible study or find an online service or find a way to compromise, which leads me to this. I think that's where we are in society, where a lot of women are placing pastors on pedestals and listening more and paying more attention to their pastors than they are their husbands. And if you have a husband that's not really fond of going to church, you think that's going to draw him now? Because actually, in some men's mind, you're just going to see another man. This is not God. How do you receive what I just said? True story. By the way, that couple is no longer together.
Of course.
That couple is no longer together.
Oh,
Why
that's
would they?
the breakup.
It's everything you said was true. Like,
As a man, how would you feel about that?
I would feel the same way he would. Like I'm here, I work hard to provide a great life for you, and my only day off is Sunday. And on that Sunday, you get to choose me or the church. Ooh. And one service is cool. Like, you can go 11 to 1 and come on back home. Right. But she stays all day. Like, then, okay, maybe it's more than church. Like, what else is keeping you from me? Like, this is my only day off. You have no choice as a man but to think what you just said, something else, or is it a deacon, playing the drums, somebody else that's keeping her from me. Somebody else has your mind, somebody else has your attention. So
I definitely agree, it's just something else there. But at the same time, like me personally, I know if Sunday my only day off, that's something you want to do, something you're passionate about, fine, go, enjoy that. But at some point, I need you to be passionate about me too.
Amen.
So,
I totally agree with you.
Like, you can go there for however amount of time, but you need to make time for me too. And sometimes I also need to join you in doing this because that's something that you like to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a give and take balance that they didn't possess.
Well, I see a problem.
Right on.
Also with him working all week.
I see the smirk on you. I know you.
Because he's creating an imbalance by working all week.
Yeah.
You know, provided he is the breadwinner and the backbone, he's taking care of the finances and everything at home. But with him being gone 7 days versus her just wanting to spend 1 day doing something she enjoy, so you got a problem on both ends.
You better talk about it.
But what about the 6 other days?
You better talk about it.
6 other days? Well, yeah. I mean, that's the 6 days he's away from the house.
Yeah, but she can do that one of those days though.
She can have one of those days?
I mean,
They got Bible study on Wednesday.
right, well, no, I'm not saying like church happens on Sunday at a specific time. I get that part. But like, it's 6 other days of the week that he's not there that she could be, participating at the church.
But they don't have, every church doesn't have service every day.
Right.
Just primarily Sunday and Wednesday.
You don't think that one service and come on home to me is good enough?
Sounds good to me.
That's a long time. That's a long time to be in church. Like, okay, you paid your dividends, you saw the pastor, you got the word. All right, come on in and get my word. Or let's do something. Let's go out.
I think all of us are thinking it, but we haven't actually said it yet. Sometimes I think people use the church as an escape. You're using church as to feed it becomes addictive. You know what I'm saying? You go to get your fix at church. You're not happy at home, and I'm not disagreeing. The house of God is a great place to be. Please, by all means, stay, worship, or do whatever. However, there has to be balance. And if you're praying before God, that's fine. But the Bible does admonish us and tells us that faith without works is dead. You make no progress. So it does a woman no good to sit up in the pastor's face every time the church door opens and pay your tithes and do whatever you think you need to do, participate in the different ministries, volunteer in the different ministries when you're not working on resolving the issues in your marriage and your home life. If anything, I think that's counterproductive to your marriage and your relationship, especially when it comes to you are pitting a ministry against your marriage. That is a dangerous place to be for both sides.
Yep.
For both sides. So, I'm going to transition over. An interesting fact, guys, you probably didn't know this. I'm gonna spread some tea here, a little hot tea, So, we're going to sip a little bit, put a little alcoholic beverage in and make it spicy.
A little hot toddy.
A little hot toddy, a little lemon, whatever your flavor is. So, guys, for about 4 or 5 years, I worked for this commercial insurance firm, which we housed insurance policies for different companies, okay? Businesses have to have insurance, as we all know. Something I found out that rocked my world, but it's made a lot of sense. Did you know that some churches, primarily the Catholic Church, that they actually have insurance policies that they pay premiums on? This is a fact. I actually screenshotted. Anyway, I don't want to get in trouble. They pay premiums on policies that if one of their bishops, or I forgot what they call them over there, that those policies will pay the victims.
That's how they keep their mouth shut. Wow.
There are insurance policies to protect. Yes, hush money. Have you ever wondered how do these victims can sue for millions of dollars and then the church pays it out? Well, technically, it's not the church. Technically, they've been paying their premiums on an insurance policy that protects them from going under in the event that, whatever, abuses Illicit affairs. We're still talking about pimps in the pulpit. Pimping doesn't mean you're pimping another adult. We are touching children in churches, and it has went unchecked. It is still continuing, and it is sickening to know for a fact that there exists. I mean, these premiums are ridiculously high. I'm talking about like you got to have loaded, close to $1 million a month premium.
So these policies, do they specifically say that that's what it is?
Yes, sexual abuse.
Oh, so
Sexual abuse.
That's why.
Sexual abuse.
That's one of the reasons a lot of people don't even go to church, because it's a lot of things out.
it's like they planning to fail.
Yeah.
Like they
Exactly. It's
Well,
the foundation.
Here's
for
part of the
something
problem.
horrible.
You can go to a church, join it, volunteer for youth ministry or to work in the nursery. No background check is done.
The devil is alive.
Just
What?
glad you out of the streets and trying to get your life together. Yeah, no background checks are done. They don't know if you're a sex offender or nothing. They just
Anybody can look innocent crying on the altar.
That's true.
Anybody come on up there and said, I'm giving my life to you, Lord, and then they're in the back doing your child dirty. You'll never know.
And you know what? And you are absolutely right. Because I'm thinking about something Jasmine said. We went to this mega church here in Charlotte it's been a while back. And I remember Jasmine saying something out loud. I wanted to pop her, but she was so right. It was like you come into the service, of course. Some of us come in with the heavy-hearted times, depending on what's going on in our lives. And, we run to God because, especially Black people, church has been a staple in our culture, in our community, from slavery to the civil rights movement. Church is something that we hold sacred. So when you come into church and you come in with a heavy heart and you got things that you need to talk to God about, you want to touch and agree, you want to be in the presence of other believers, you believing in the fellowship, you're believing to have a mighty move of God. And when you get there and you're not paying attention to what's going on, you got the praise and worship music. You always have the praise and worship music 9 times out of 10 before you do that offering.
Oh yeah.
And then before you do that first prayer in the service. And my daughter made it a point to say to me or express that she felt like it was manipulation. You are manipulating my emotions to get something out of me during the service.
Try to guilt trip you. Talking about the Lord don't like this. Lord not gonna bless you with this if you don't do this for me. Yeah, you're right.
I just feel like
Say it, honey.
it's just manipulation, because it's just like, you mean to tell me if I only got $100 to my name. Now, granted, rationality, it's not that bad, but you don't know what I'm going through. So that 10% you want me to give to you, because if I don't, the Lord is going to have wrath on me that I'm not giving my 10%, when my 10% could be out of my day. I take 10% out of my day to do something for someone else, or I take 10% out of my day to just, devote that time to God. But it's just like, it's always around money. And it's just like, I didn't grow up poor, but it's just like, I didn't grow up in a 6-figure household. So it's just like, okay, my mama been tithing since I was born. If I took all that tithe money back, we'd be rich. It's just like a lot of people, and I'm gonna reference social media because I'm a millennial, and that's where 40% of my life sits.
Right.
But a lot of us, notice that, especially for me being a millennial. Obviously, I was born in the 90s, so having a parent raising me during that time, the dollar could stretch further. But it's just like, okay, my mama went to church, my grandmama went to church, my great-grandmama went to church, my cousins, my aunts, everybody was in the church. But yet, everybody is still where they're at. You know what I'm saying? Granted, we've done better in our lives, but it's just like, we haven't done astronomically better.
I know
so
what
it's
you're saying. Right.
Where it almost makes you think, and I hate that it does this, but it makes you think okay, so is my money tied to God? Should I be giving more to the church? These fruit and seed offerings? if I don't give this money, is that why this, is that why this didn't happen for me? Is that why I didn't get this job? Is that why my cousin's sick? X, Y, Z. It makes you think like, okay, and then it's guilt tripping too, because when you passing that, little basket
Collection
around
plate.
and you looking at the person next to you, and you just pass that on.
They give you that look.
They give you that, so you just go, sit up here and take the pastor's word, but you ain't gonna give no money back, and it's just like, what? Yeah, nothing against the church, but what if this word didn't apply to me this week? I need to pay for that.
No,
I'm disowning you. I'm disowning you.
I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of different things we look at, and it's just like, too, you don't know if I paid on the mobile app either, so, but.
Throw that in there, Jasmine.
Right, I'm just saying, Cash App, okay, but it does feel like the church does manipulate a lot of people, and especially like you said, if I'm stepping in a physical church, I might be going through. I usually am online, but if I'm in a church, I'm probably going through, so I'm already, really needing a word from God. I really need to connect, and it's just like I hear that music, I feel it in the air, and then you're also around other people who are also probably going through. Everybody's
heavy heart,
the crying, and you just want to release, and then it's just like, oh, the 20 in my wallet, but I need gas and groceries for the week.
You're not.
Here's the thing with the tithe and the offering. The pastor, the members didn't institute that. God instituted that.
Yeah, but
He asked for that to sustain the house.
First Testament, yeah.
Church is a non-profit organization.
Okay.
So if you're not giving your tithe and your offering, then you don't have the nice plush pews. When we came in earlier, we turned air on. If no one is giving, then when you go to church, there's no air.
Well, that's true.
And I understand that foundation of, it does take money to turn the lights on in the church, to have the Bibles to give to, programs and that kind of stuff. But going back to earlier, I mean, it's just like, okay.
We're talking about lavish living versus basic operating expenses that is mandatory for the church to function. Right. I think there's a huge difference between me actually seeing and knowing that my church needs a certain amount of dollars from me so they can open their doors, so that, as you say, in the summertime we can have air, and in the wintertime we can have heat, versus my pastor pulling up in a Bentley. That's worlds different.
And it's the nicest car in the parking lot.
So,
okay.
I'm asking a question now because I'm not a devout church goer at this time.
You're in good company.
So what you're saying about the tithes and offering, so it's specifically for what? To sustain the house. So not necessarily just money. Because time, effort, all those go into sustaining the house.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be money.
Tithe and offering specifically speaks to money.
Money, okay.
Because you can't go to Duke Power speaking in tongues.
No. I mean,
with a,
definitely.
No, saying I'll put in some time. I'll hang some wire. I'll be glad to run some pipe or something for you that we can offset the bills at the church.
Right.
Duke Power speaks in American currency.
Definitely.
That's all they understand.
Yeah, I know.
And when you put it like that, it's easy to understand.
One of the things that takes people out of the church is when pastor don't look like them. Like,
you better say it again.
I go home to a nice house. You can go home to a nice house, but I don't wear rings. I wear jewelry because I didn't have it as a kid. But the pastors, you can't even see their skin no more because they just like Bishop Magic Don Juan.
Yeah, no, that's
like they press, they perm, they got wipers up there on the pulpit. They up there drinking lemonade. Most pastors drink water up there.
Yeah, now see, when you say that, first thing I see, or I would think, if I went to a church and I saw all of that, was exit right, exit left.
Exactly.
Why would you exit though? I'm curious. I want you to say it.
Because that's a warning sign that something is wrong. I can see it.
So why don't more people? Why is it more people in the body of Christ are not willing to do that? If you can walk through a church door and identify certain key things that you see are a problem, and you can exit stage right, why are there so many sheep willing to follow just anyone, leading to the scandals, leading to the affairs, leading to the pimpish behavior in the church. And they have destroyed church culture, something that we used to value so much.
Because people are just that, sheep.
Oh.
Yes.
And sheep is
Followers.
Yep.
I read a book years ago called Mind Control, and it said that 95% of the people in the world, when they graduate high school, stop expanding their worldview. The other 5%, guess what they're doing?
What are they doing?
Learning how to manipulate the 95%. So
Makes a lot of sense.
some of those filter into the pulpits. Some of those filter into different areas of life, and that's what you get. So when I see a perm and I see a lady getting off of a bus coming into a sanctuary and the pastor pulls up in the Bentley, I see a problem.
I see a problem as well.
And if your heart is right, you'll see the disconnect. And that's when I'm exiting.
Okay.
I mean, anything that comes out of your mouth at that point, I don't want to hear it, because your life is the currency that backs up what you say in that pulpit. So if you're not living the life, what you say don't mean a hill of beans to me. What matters is are you going to back up what you just said through your life living? And but you don't see that.
You don't. It's something that I want to touch on, and it's amazing as this conversation has been so far. We are running out of time quickly. I think another contribution to the deteriorating church culture, or the image that used to be pristine, is, and I know a lot of you out there are going to disagree. You are free to disagree. As a matter of fact, email me at DivaSpeaksOfficial@gmail.com. We can talk about it.
Let them know.
I think the way we present ourselves at church, I think your attire speaks to your conduct sometimes and how you feel. Once upon a time, Sundays was a sacred day where we wore our Sunday best. It was a rule. I remember growing up as a little girl in the backwoods of the Mississippi Delta. Sundays, my hair was pressed. There were certain dresses that was not allowed in my regular wardrobe closet. They came out of a different closet with a different set of shoes, even coats. My mom was bougie like that. But the point of it being that we got up, we dressed ourselves to present the best version of ourselves to God on a Sunday. And it just seems now today we've taken the scripture that encourages us to come as we are. We've taken it a little bit too far. Because I think that sometimes our sisters are a little bit too comfortable wearing freakum dresses, a club attire to church. Now, we want you to get the word of God. Yes, we do. But we still have men and some women
And they still got eyes.
that have eyes. And you could serve as a distraction to someone. And this is, tell me if I'm wrong. Isn't that sometimes how lust and affairs begin? Sister Helen came up there in her freakum dress, as beautiful as she is, and her body was banging. Let's just put it out there. She had the body for that dress. Whatever she wore, she had it.
Sometimes you can't cover that up either.
Look at the thing,
Okay,
like,
well,
'cause-
God gave it naturally.
exactly. You can be fully covered.
Your dress
Yeah.
can be down to your ankles, and
And
people
still-
still go say it's inappropriate.
right.
My dress is inappropriate.
We ain't nowhere near no church right now. We ain't talking about you.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah, but
You fully covered,
Fully covered.
but you're still embracing your
A
physique.
form-fitting dress. I get your
Right.
point. I'm just making.
So it's like,
most of the people upset don't look like that woman either.
I don't know. I put too much.
I understand haters are out there. I get it. Women are jealous. Some women are jealous. Some women are haters. Some women have let themselves go.
Because they know they man go look.
And they know their man is gonna look. I get it. But guys, can we really just talk about inappropriate attire in the church leading to different, or opening up a can of worms?
But at what point do you take self-responsibility
For
within
how you
yourself
come in there
and be
looking
like,
at other people. fearful.
Like,
be
that's
like,
not
what?
what you're here for.
Yeah.
Exactly. Your eyes
Like
are
this-
focused on my body.
This is one of the reasons why I
called
don't go to church now.
self-control.
There's too
Tell
much
me.
politicking and like you got to be this, you got to be that. Like for me, the person that I am, like I'm very self-aware and I'm here, right?
Right.
So when I go places, I focus on this and what I need to focus on, and then I'm leaving. Like that's my purpose for coming here is to complete this task, and then I'm gonna go home or go do whatever the next thing it is I'm supposed to do. Like if I'm not here to meet a woman or to meet somebody, or that's not what I'm going here looking for because that's not the purpose of me going to this place.
Right.
So that's just me. I digress.
It don't matter what you
That's
got
I
on.
mean, a lot of people that are gonna watch this are gonna agree exactly with what you said. I mean, it needed to be said.
I feel like I have another take though.
Okay, share it.
Because as much as like, and I feel like this conversation is like hypersexualized over women's bodies because we ain't looking at the men like, oh, his shirt real tight today in the church. That's
Ain't
a
nobody
nice
looking
suit
at
he got
them.
on.
Oh, they do.
But it's also like when you're talking about people who don't have a lot, and you're talking about everyone used to come in their Sunday best, but what if my Sunday best is just if that's all I got to my name? Like I just lost everything, and all I got is like a shirt and some jeans. I'm being judged by all the tall hats, suits.
That's a good point.
And
my best
now I
friend
don't
sang
feel
the
like
drum
coming
best.
to the church because I know I'm going to be looked at as if I'm not one of God's children as well, because I'm here to get the word. I'm not here to walk a runway strip. I'm here to listen to the word. And that's, again, what discourages some people, because for a long time, we got dressed up. And, it's just like, I got to get up early because I got to iron this dress. I got to make sure my stockings don't have no holes in them.
True.
My skirt got to be long enough. And then it's just like, even as a kid, watching other kids, I'm like, your mama let you carry a purse? Like, the politicking of it all. And then it teaches even young children, it teaches us what I should expect coming into the church. So as I get older, oh, you ain't got on no dress? Like, and now I'm looking at you crazy, but we both here to hear the word of God. We're not here to dress for each other.
I'm not here for you.
Exactly.
Should be a fashion
And it's just
show.
like, if you got those things, because we're used to giving like you cleaning out your closet. If you have those extra clothes, why don't you put them in the church so that when someone doesn't have, what you have, they have the opportunity to, okay, here's a nice dress, it's your size, take it, sister, take it, brother, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being critical. Because at the end of the day, we still don't know what they're going home to or if they're even going home.
Great point. Great point. I never really thought about it like that.
Millennial.
But, I was one of those ones that thought, like she was just saying, I'm guilty of that. Yeah. Real quick, Pastor, was there something you wanted to add? It looks like we're wrapping down.
If you're in that situation and that's all you got, that's where come as you are applies. And you just have to divorce the opinion of other people. And as you can do better, do better. One thing I know about, some of the other crazy dresses, one thing I learned in communications was that everything you buy, everything you wear, you're advertising something. You don't buy a shirt without the thought process that, what am I advertising when I wear this Cowboys toboggan? But that's my team. So if you put on a revealing dress and you go to church, you knew exactly what you were doing.
Yep.
And then it's the churches have to define the expectations of what they expect out of the people that come there. If you don't define expectations, then anything can show up.
Exactly. I want to thank you for that point. That was an excellent point. If you don't define the expectations, then anything will show up. And I think that should hold true when we're selecting our church homes and pastors. So this has been an amazing conversation. I appreciate each of the viewpoints that each of my panelists have expressed. Thank you, Pastor, for chiming in and bringing balance as a representative of the body of Christ, Nation of Christ Ministries, senior pastor and founder. I thank my two radio personalities, the men of the Midday Madness show, for chiming in. It is always a pleasure to chop it up with real men and have some real conversation. And I got 3 black men on the set today.
Yes, you do.
And of course, my beautiful millennial daughter for chiming in and bringing in a millennial's perspective. And it's nice to know that I wasn't totally a Manny. So I did halfway raise her. So guys, this will conclude this premiere of DivaSpeaks Relationships, talking about illicit affairs, sex scandals, and pimps in the pulpit. What the hell is going on with church culture today? You can find Diva Speaks Relationship podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts, but you can actually start viewing Diva Speaks Relationship on Access 21 if you have Spectrum TV, AT&T Uverse, Roku TV, as well as video on demand. Stay tuned, subscribe, become a follower, and let's take this journey together. And until the very next time, the diva, Angela Puerto Real, has spoken.
Thank you for tuning in to Diva Speaks Relationships TV. I am your hostess, Angela Puerto Real. You can find Diva Speaks Relationships TV every second and fourth Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for tuning in.
DivaSpeaks Podcast is the premier relationship podcast that explicitly deals with relationship matters from a woman's point of view. No subject is off limits. Relationship challenges, sex, intimacy, dating, infidelity, finances, heartbreak, and situationships are all a part of the discussion.